Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, the host of Zenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters, and also uh, a amateur paleontologist of great renown, naturally. Today is National Dinosaur Day, sort of. Well, it's dinosaurs are so cool that they get two dinosaur days. One is in the second Thursday of May. That was done in 2016. And then this one was sort of established accidentally in 2015 in the States. The other one was in England, somewhere, maybe. Be that as it may, it doesn't really matter. Every day is National Dinosaur Day, at least in my eyes. Your agent is getting a bit awesome at the moment. So before we get too much further into it, or I forget it, we're going to talk about the Valley of Gwangi from 1968, 69, one of those years. So let me look back up here. 1969, yes. Ray Harryhausen, Charles Schneer co-production, released by Seven Arts and Warner Brothers, I believe. Yes, Warner Brothers, Seven Arts. It runs 96 minutes, released in, let's just say June of 69. They have two dates here in Wikipedia. Thanks for being so helpful. Anyway, now we've got that out of the way. We'll talk about other things coming up. And of course, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and especially leave a comment. I mean, the artistry of Harryhausen is superb in this movie. According to a friend of mine, Gwangi has 18 minutes of stop motion animation in it, which was the most until possibly that 1981 movie he liked so much, Clash of the Somethings. But after having said all that, let's roll. All right, so we start right out here immediately with old. Is this Carlos? No, it's Carlos's brother who has come out of this strange valley with a bag, which they just batter around. That's poor thing in the bag. Anyway, and then we get into the credits here. The Valley of Gwangi. Let's listen to a little bit of the trailer, right? Ray Harryhausen.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you are about to see has never been seen before by human eyes.
That music you're listening to there is by Jerome Moras, who did lots of great scores, and it fits. I love this score for this movie. I mean, really? That's his theater works? Where's the rest of his movies? The Big Country, 1958. He was nominated for Academy Award. Um, Shark Fighters, Rachel. He did compose the main theme for the third through eighth seasons of Wagon Train. You know, they always were going, but they never got anywhere. Thank you, Stand By Me. Anyway, it's a great score. I really like it. It's set in the south of the Rio Grande, so it's in Rio Grande, if you want to say it properly, in Mexico at the turn of the century. Now, that would have been the 19th through the 20th century, I would assume, because there's plenty of guns floating about. There's our heroine, TJ TJ Breckenridge, who's played by Hila Golan. She's an Israeli actress and former model. She's dubbed entirely because her accent was too thick. Ray Harryhausen, for all his disdain for imported movies that were dubbed into English, sure had a lot of dubbed actors in his. Now, didn't he? I mean, she's a gorgeous woman. She was in anything. Our Man Flint. Her role was Gila. So she was in I Dream of Jeannie as Princess Tarji. Uh, reference or history has it that your agent, as a wee agent, young agent, really liked I Dream of Jeannie, and I'm not going to deny it. But she didn't do too much. But uh, I don't know. Yeah, Valley of Gwangi is pretty much her biggest hit, as far as I'm concerned. Which was not a hit at all, which is too bad because it deserved to be. But she's in it. That's I don't think she's riding Omar the Wonder Horse at the time, but maybe she is. We're introduced to Tuck right there, who's played by James Franciscus. We know him from the one of the Planet of the Apes movies, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, the second one. And he was the voice of Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And if you were around in the early 70s, that was a big deal for some reason. And he's been in lots of other things. I mean, just tons of things. He was very busy his whole life. So good on him. Uh, so, yeah, he plays Tuck. Uh, that's all he's given his name. And that right next to him is Curtis Arden as Lope. And I don't think Curtis Arden sounds very Latino, but you just never know with Hollywood. If that's his real voice, he has an accent that he does really well. He's a little hustler. He's an orphan. I'm sure he wasn't after the movie. Right there is Richard Carlson, who we all know from The Creature from the Black Lagoon, amongst hundreds of The Magnetic Monster, The Maze, Came from Outer Space. We've reviewed a few of those. Riders to the Stars. Um, but by now he's 15 years older, and he's very much in the role of, since this movie was written by or inspired by Willis O'Brien, and so he's very much in the role of Carl Denham, I think, in this movie. And he's quite good. He's good man, but he's not happy to see Tuck. And unfortunately, we do have some first tribes. Uh, well, you can see it. So there's TJ on Omar the Wonder Horse. Tuck says Custer wants to, not Custer, the other guy wants to buy Omar and help her out. But look at their sparse crowds here in whatever Mexican city they're in. And there she goes. They're going to jump into a flaming pool. And that's a stop motion. That was the first stop motion shot they've made. They had to build a horse. Probably not. It's like a 4-second shot. It's just 24 times 4 is whatever, 48 and 48, 96 maybe. It's the frames of it, but that's our first stop motion shot in the movie. There she is. She's a very attractive woman, red hair notwithstanding. Right, Lilith? But she's safe, and Omar's safe, which they'd never do in real life, is throw a horse off. When she sees Tuck, she's not happy because he dumped her and ran away. But there he goes. There is Professor Bromley, played by Lawrence Naismith, who was Argo in Jason and the Argonauts, another Harryhausen movie from 1963 that I did see in the theater, which, unlike certain fellow agent did not, and he's still salty about it. This movie was directed by, as we saw, Jim O'Connelly, and according to lore, he lost interest in the movie, but I mean, that's not very professional now, is it? And it's Harryhausen did get a co-producer credit here. He's a paleontologist. We dig deeper because Tuck calls him an archaeologist, and he had to be corrected. Not that I've ever done that. Look, there's 4 horse hoof prints. This is the track of an Eohippus, along with, I don't even know what bone that was supposed to be, but it's a fossil, and so he's sure that something's around. Tuck tells his horse that he didn't know his grandfather, that he was walking on one hoof, which is really his fingernail. I do always cheer for the bull, and he's trying to talk sense into her. He's just out to make a buck. He's kind of a hustler, he's a hustler, he's a con man, but, and Lope decides he's going to come out and play with the bull. Now, I'm still cheering for the bull. That one looks a little underfed, and that's probably a stunt man or stunt kid. There's Carlos, and Carlos was played by Gustavo Rojo, who was a geez, he was born on a German ship in 1923. Uruguayan Mexican actor, so his accent was probably natural. He's not happy to see Tuck, but he's apparently alive from all that tumbling around. He does save Lope. TJ realizes she's still in love with Tuck, but she's sewing him up from his gashes. And then she shows him El Diablo, which is an Eohippus, the Dawn horse, if you will. I think the Dawn horse now has a different name. Let's see. Is it? Oh, Hyracotherium. It's a mammal and it's a horse. I mean, it's a tiny little horse. It did have three. It looks like that. It does not. It looks like it has hooves. It sounds like it has hooves. So that's just the model maker. I don't think Ray was in charge of making the models, but they've called him El Diablo, which is of course Spanish for the devil. Why would they call a cute little horse El Diablo? Because he's from the Lost Valley. And then he goes and shows the Professor Bromley there, who's like, darn. There, it's a very cute little horse, I gotta say. Harryhausen gave it so much personality. Oh, he does have split hooves. Good job. All right, take that back. Gustavo, that's his real name. But Carlos isn't happy. He won't tell him where they got it. They visit the gypsies. Why there are gypsies in Mexico is beyond me, but that's Tia Zorina and her helper there, her mini Tia. Mini Tia. Lope says, I think you're in love. And while Tuck is drinking a beer, Lope's getting limonade, which I don't think is true Spanish for lemonade. But then Carlos gets clonked. They steal the horse back. Pardon me, the Eohippus, the Dawn horse. And because this is all a plot by Professor Bromley, who's not nearly as nice as he seems, he's very, very British, don't you know? And off they go. Now, Carlos has told him it was Tuck, so he can get in good with TJ because he's got the hots for her. And, really, who wouldn't? Tuck goes and manhandles the professor until they're interrupted by a strange, what they think is a strange sound, as we know what it is, but we'll find out in a minute. So the scenery here is gorgeous. This was shot in, where was this shot? Location shooting. Almeria and Cuenca, Spain. So it's just gorgeous. Lots of beautiful scenery in this movie. So it's just, I've got another bit of the horses meeting each other, and off they go. There's a fun chase sequence with this little horse where they're all trying to catch him and just getting each. The Three Stooges couldn't have done a worse job. TJ ropes Tuck and says, let him go, so she does. And the horse gets away into the Forbidden Valley, which they find out they can get into because they're dumbasses. And look at this, though. Look at that. It's just, you can't, special effects can't do anything that gorgeous. I would go there in a minute. But then we see a pteranodon, my beloved pteranodon. I'm surprised it doesn't say Truru there, and it's purple even. Now, this is a model they just took right from 1 million years BC, made 3 years earlier, released 3 years earlier. And they just reused it. You can tell it's still got bat wings. Well, we weren't trying to make a documentary, as Ray would say, and I've been quoted to 1 million times by that same certain agent. But, and it grabs Lope, and we're still cheering for the pteranodon. Unfortunately, it can't hold Lope, and Carlos kills it. And then they see a Ornithomimus, Struthiomimus, Gallimimus. Take your pick. So neither of Sabrina or Garrett's favorite dinosaurs are in here, nor is a certain Lilith's favorite dinosaur, nor is even Agent Frog's favorite dinosaur, the Triceratops. We all know that the Paki is Lilith's favorite dinosaur. And so the guy, Rowdy, says it looks like a plucked ostrich. So close. So it runs, and look at its tail is up off the ground. Now, Ray did not like Ray Harryhausen, did not like showing the dinosaurs with their tails up because he thought it was them, showing off their business. And it's honking. It's literally a honker. But unfortunately, there's our star. Gwangi shows up, chompy chompy, and he's blood. This is a little blood in here, and the professor, who should know better, calls this a pterodactyl. Yeah, everyone says they're pterodactyls because they don't pay attention. And having said that, let's watch a brief little clip from Whose Line Is It Anyway? Big fan of the show here, and this is just a delight to see. It does run 3 minutes. We might not watch all of it, or we might skip ahead.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Joe, can you hear us?
What?
Look at what it is.
Joe, can you hear us?
Oh my God!
Yes, I can't. I'm having trouble hearing you.
Joe, can you hear all that behind you?
Pardon?
Can you hear all that behind you?
I've got to tell you,
my
I've
God.
never been this scared in all my years of broadcasting.
I don't blame you, Joe.
Joe,
Yes,
what caused all this?
apparently a very bad bowl of soup. Details are still sketchy. I'm still trying to get. Excuse me.
That's Colin Mockery, and he's hilarious. And we're going to stop it right here and then maybe go a little further. It is the Pteranodon sequence. Obviously, the quality isn't great. But what do? I mean, you just got to love it. You love him, and he actually knows. Let's scooch ahead just a tidge.
Joe, I don't think you would see this sort of an event at any rodeo I've been to.
Oh, not at all, because the clowns, for one thing, were just. Well, look.
Joe, it looks like you're in a Harryhausen movie.
Oh, it's so horrible. Right here in the Valley of the Gwangi.
Tell us, Colin, do you have any idea what's behind you?
Cowboys and dinosaurs.
Yeah, I know. He called it Valley of the Gwangi. I've had friends who should know better. I'm not going to be that guy. I mean, the fact that he's not the Gwangi. It's like, but he knew where he was. He knew the movie, and as soon as they said Harryhausen, he knew and kudos to the young lady that I don't remember her name, but, Anyway, so there's Gwangi. He's making his first appearance, and the professor there is in big trouble. Gwangi.
There's a big lizard back there, and he's heading this way. Now get aboard.
So, of course, the trailer will be at the end of the movie, or the review there. There's our Styracosaurus showing up. The poor Styracosaurus. Now, Gwangi himself is allegedly an Allosaurus. It doesn't have pronated or supinated hands. Correct there. But it was a Willis O'Brien idea, and back then they weren't sure when he did it. King Kong fights a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm sorry, you can call it an Allosaurus because it's got 3 fingers. They weren't sure in 1933 or 32 that whether the T-Rex had 2 or 3 fingers. Gwangi is the exact same mold. Look at the head. It's the shape of a T-Rex. It's not an Allosaurus. And it's gigantic. So, I love an Allosaurus fragilis, but Tyrannosaurus Rex, come on. Anyway, having said all that, it chases them off, and then has a slight confrontation with the Styracosaurus, and then they back off. And the professor, of course, is acting a lot like Dr. Alan Grant. And he's like, I'm gonna have me some chicken here. Now he'd already chomped on the Struthiomimus, Ornithomimus, Gallimimus, whatever the hell it's called, the bird mimic, if you will. And they got to figure out a way. They got to take care of Lupe because he's got scratches on his back. And everyone's there. We got to get out of here. They find out Rowdy's the young kid there who's loaded everything's blank, so they can't even hurt the dinosaurs with guns. He calls him a horse thief. They punch it out, and Lope tells him it was the professor that did, and they don't know where the professor is until he falls into the tiger pit, aka a dinosaur pit, and they all laugh at him. Ma ha ha! Surprised they didn't throw that down there, since He's the one that was the horse thief. You're really ready to, you know, hang Tuck up from the yardarms. That's naval reference. So Tuck goes to get fresh water, and immediately his horse is telling him, "Hey, something's big is coming." These horses are really well trained because they do everything on command, and they're great. And that's Ray's homage to the T Rex in King Kong. He scratches his ear because the horse is making too much noise, and of course he chases him down. The horses all survive, and look at this shot here. You can't even see where the mat line is from Tuck to Gwangi. And those red eyes of Gwangi. Now the infamous and wonderful roping sequence where they're trying to rope him, which is just astounding. And that Ray did this all by hand, by himself, and just the horse gets walloped. They had to time that, and it's just amazing to think that this was done without computers. I mean, look, they've got him. And now we have a spoiler. I really don't feel sorry for the Styracosaurus. I mean, I love my ceratopsians, but this one, he just never lives. I don't know why they're afraid of him, but he's probably very territorial, like a rhino or a hippopotamus. But look at Gwangi's face. I mean, he's got a lot more expressions than you'd think. He growls, he snarls, and then he attacks the Styracosaurus. Gets a couple in on him, but Carlos goes and stabs him like a matador. One more reason I would have cheered for if he'd have fought that Styracosaurus. I'd have cheered for the Styracosaurus. But unfortunately for Carlos, he doesn't make it. And there Gwangi gets stuck chasing him. He's a little single-minded. He had a whole Styracosaurus to eat. Why he would chase little Cowboy McNuggets is beyond me. Why do you suppose he'd do that? I just can't figure it out. And unfortunately, when he gets through and everything crashes down on him, we get this stiff, unconvincing model. And now it was probably just a mold. It doesn't even hardly look like him, but that's what we get. They decide, let's bring him back, boys. He'll be the seventh wonder of the world. We'll be millionaires, and I'll share it with all of you. And they do, which is never. We've talked about this in the past. Do not bring monsters or dinosaurs back to civilization. It's a bad, bad idea. It never turns out well. So this is a Gwangi point of view, which is kind of cool. But he's not happy. Tia Zorona shows up and says, yeah, he killed Carlos like he killed his brother. I saw it in a dream. And if you don't send him back, he'll be the death of lots of people. And Professor Bromley, in his British arrogance, says, your superstitions don't mean anything. He's going to regret that. And she says, I told you. And Gwangi looks back and is like, got it. All right, lady. Never noticed this till this time I watched the movie, which came from the Blu-ray. And I highly recommend it, even though it's got no commentary or anything extra aside from the trailer. But it's a beautiful picture. I mean, it's just gorgeous. No question about it. Gwangi is rather chameleon-like and changes color throughout the movie, but meh. So now Tuck is like, let's sell out. Let's go get our farm, our ranch, have some kids. And TJ's all business. The professor says, you got to let me study him. He's going to be a boon to science. And he would be even dead because you could examine him. And why not? And they know where the Lost Valley is, although there have to be more dinosaurs in the Lost Valley. The Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs, or could be a land of the lost, wouldn't you think? I can't even try to use the alternate dimension sort of thing, but you never know. But there have to be more than just the four we saw in the Gwangi, Styracosaurus, Struthiomimus. Yeah, the three we saw and the Pteranodon. I mean, there have to be, because as the professor says earlier to Tuck, if there's a Eohippus, and why a mammal would be there in the Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs is beyond me. But if there's one, there has to be at least two parents. So she he gets mad at her and leaves. Tuck does, and Lope says he's very proud. You have to go after him. There's the band again, and here we go. Look at the crowd now, and those are real people. That's not. They can't CGI a crowd in like they do now. We don't hear what TJ says to him in her dubbed voice, but they're back in love again. And Gwangi, suitably demonic against the red. It's just well lit. Once again, the artistry of Harryhausen, knowing what he wanted to show. Now, Tia Zorina has sent her henchman in there, her mini her. And there's his Ray's animated elephant. He's got his Billy Idol lip. Not no fool Billy Idol lip, but his Elvis lip going. Because Elvis is everywhere, and he's in dinosaurs. And, Champ realizes something's going on. Gwangi the Great. And there's a balloon. They pull it up, and he's having a henchman McNugget himself. I mean, I don't think he eats him, but he bashes it open. Professor Bromley meets his untimely end because he's dumb for a professor. And it's hard to feel sorry for him because it's kind of his fault, too. They have once again, an elephant bites the dust. I'm thinking Ray has a thing about pteranodons. He hates them, and he hates elephants. Now, this has the small ears of an Indian elephant, but it's standing about 19 feet tall. So that's an African elephant, at least 10 feet. It's not the worst battle, but much like the one with the Ymir, it ends in tragedy for the elephant. Out he goes, he chomps on somebody else, and then I just like this shot. I mean, it's just, look at him. So, yeah, Rowdy's, I don't know what Rowdy thinks he's doing. He's lucky he didn't get chomped. And up the stairs into the cathedral, which Gwangi breaks into, and everyone's like, run away, run away. So, you look at, and down here is where the kid, Lope and TJ are. I mean, it's just, where the matte lines would be, but it's just phenomenally well done and shot. So I just love this shot too. And he sticks this right in his ear almost, and then he throws fire. Now he throws it on the ground, which seems to be like marble because cathedrals were ridiculously ornate, and yet it catches fire. The whole thing catches fire, and it looks like it's all stone. Tell me that doesn't look like it's all stone, right? But unfortunately for Gwangi, he's about to be turned into his own Tyrannosaurus Rex burger. But they get out, they close the doors, and Lope's the only one crying, though he's not shown any sympathy for Gwangi at all, unlike, say, Toshiro for Gamera or any of the kids in the Godzilla movies. But he's crying, and that's the end. So there you have it. That's our movie. It's my second favorite dinosaur movie, and I love one of my favorite Harryhausen movies, probably my second favorite. And then we get the cast here, and Gwangi. Gwangi even gets his own credit. So, yeah, we're going to close this up here. You'll see the trailer here momentarily, and that's our National Dinosaur Day of 2025. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And until our next assignment, let me get the music up here. Until our next assignment, this is X7 signing off and, of course, phasing out.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you are about to see has never been seen before by human eyes.
Professor, There's a big lizard back there, and he's heading this way. Now get aboard.